Everyone, this is Modula and Podrick, and we will be informing you all about what is going on in the digital world.
Welcome to the future humans. Let's start.
We've all dreamt of it, right? The robot butler from the sci-fi movies? Well, guess what? It looks like that dream is finally actually walking into our living rooms. So let's get into it. How does this thing work? And more importantly, what's it going to cost you?
And no, that's not a tagline from some new blockbuster movie. That's a direct quote from the Wall Street Journal, talking about their first look at the 1X Neo robot. This thing is real. It's walking around. It's designed specifically for your home. But, before you get your wallet out. Yeah, there's the price tag. A pre-order is going to set you back a cool $20,000. And you won't even get it until 2026. So for the price of a brand new car, what are you actually getting under the hood? Or, I guess, under the sweater? All right, first things first, let's look at the machine itself. And yes, you're seeing that right. It comes dressed in what can only be called a cozy sweater onesie. The company says it's for, safety and looks. We'll let you be the judge of that. Okay, so the specs here are actually pretty wild. Neo stands at a very human-like 5'6", but get this, it only weighs 66 pounds. But even at that weight, it can lift over double its own body weight. And it does it all at just 22 decibels, which is, that's literally whisper quiet. So you're probably wondering, how is that even possible? Well, most robots you think of, like in a factory, use these heavy, powerful, noisy gears. Neo is totally different. It uses motors that pull on these synthetic tendons, kind of like how our own muscles work. And that's the secret sauce that makes it so much lighter, quieter, and, this is the big one, way safer to have around your family. Okay, so the specs are impressive on paper, but the real question, the one we all have, is can it actually do the chores? Well, the Wall Street Journal decided to find out and put this thing to the test. First up, they gave it what seems like a super simple task. Just go to the fridge, which is only 10 feet away, and grab a glass of water. Sounds easy enough, right? Well, it took Neo over a minute to do it. And that right there kind of shows you where the technology is right now. It works, but man, it is not graceful. All right, maybe that was a fluke. Let's try something a little more complex. The next challenge, just load 3 simple items into the dishwasher. 5 minutes to load 3 things? Yikes. So this makes it super clear that even with this really advanced body, the performance is, well, it's slow. And that really drives home a key point. The hardware is only half the story. The other half is the brain. And that brings us to the brain. Now, this is where things get really, really interesting because the secret to how Neo thinks, it's probably not what you're expecting at all. So the big promise here is a totally autonomous helper, right? Powered by some super sophisticated AI. But when you actually watch Neo moving around right now, is the AI really the one doing all the heavy lifting? Or is something else going on? Is there, as the Wall Street Journal puts it, a human behind the curtain pulling the robot strings? And here it is, the big twist. For now, Neo is mostly controlled by something called teleoperation. What does that mean? It means there's a real human pilot, somewhere, wearing a VR headset and using controllers, basically puppeteering the robot's every move. They're seeing through its eyes, controlling its hands. It's wild. Now, hold on. This isn't some kind of bait and switch. This is actually a really important part of the training process. See, every single thing that a human pilot does gets recorded. That becomes the training data for the AI. It's literally learning by watching a human. The end goal, of course, is that eventually, Neo won't need the pilot at all. But this whole model introduces a pretty interesting new contract between you and the robot. And that brings us to what you might call the social contract here. Because to teach this AI, the company needs data. And not just any data, data from inside your home. To their credit, the company is pretty upfront about this whole thing. One of their reps called it the big sister principle. The idea being they're there to help you, not just spy on you. The logic is simple. The more data you share, the smarter and more useful the robot gets. Of course, the idea of a device with cameras and mics constantly connected to the cloud, learning from everything that happens in your house. Yeah, that's raised a few eyebrows. As the tech channel Fireship very sarcastically put it, I really don't see any privacy concerns here at all. So in response to that, the company, 1X, says they're putting the controls in your hands. They promise a few things.
First, the human pilots won't see people. They can be blurred out. Second, you can set up digital no-go zones in your house where the robot just can't go. And this is the big one. They say a human pilot can never, ever connect to the robot unless you specifically approve it through an app.
So when you put it all together, where does this leave us? Well, it feels like we're standing at a crossroads, looking down two very, very different paths for what this kind of AI could mean for our lives. On one path, you've got the utopian dream, right? Think the Jetsons, a helpful robot companion that just makes life better and gives us more freedom. But on the other path, you've got the dystopian vision, more like Ex Machina, a potential data hoovering device with all sorts of privacy and safety risks we can't even predict yet. And this really brings us to a whole new way of thinking about this. The Wall Street Journal reporter came up with what might be the perfect analogy for it all. Spending a day with Neo, right now, is like spending a day with a toddler. It's clumsy, it's slow, it's learning about the world by making a ton of mistakes. So the first people to buy this, the early adopters, they're not just buying a finished product. They're basically signing up to be teachers. They'll be actively teaching it, letting it learn from their homes, their routines. So the final question here isn't really about the tech. It's about us and our role in all of this. The goal isn't just to own a robot anymore. It's to raise one. And the real question is, are you ready for that?